Union. Worker-worn crane was on unstable ground. A safety engineer at the World Cup stadium where a giant crane collapsed killed two workers allegedly warned his supervisor of possible problems with the operation, only to have his concern brushed aside. A labor union leader charged Thursday, as sniping over the accident heated up. The incident has fed worries about Brazil's capacity to host next year's showcase tournament, as well as the 2016 Olympics, though authorities insist they will be ready for both. Sao Paulo's Arena Corinthians was slated to be completed by the end of December, and workers have suggested that speed was a top priority on the construction site, with many working 12-hour shifts and skipping vacations. The stadium was initially scheduled to be part of the Confederations Cup earlier this year, but World Football's governing body FIFA scrapped the venue from the World Cup tournament because of financing problems before construction even started. Antonio de Sousa Ramalho, president of Sao Paulo's Civil Industry Workers Association, told the Associated Press in a phone interview that supervisors pressed ahead with the operation to finish the road despite several rainy days that soaked the soil. He said the engineer warned his supervisor that it appeared the ground was not stable enough to support a 500-ton piece of roofing. To his surprise, he was told by the supervisor that nothing was wrong and work should continue, said Ramalho, who declined to provide the worker's name for fear of possible reprisals. They discussed the matter for a while, but in the end the supervisor's decision stood. Odebrecht, the powerful Brazilian construction company behind the stadium project and 3 other World Cup venues, strongly denied the claims, and a civil defense official said an initial inspection of the construction site a day after the accident showed no evidence the ground was unstable. Odebrecht and Sport Club Corinthians clarified that there was no warning previous to the accident. The statement said. The company added the Ramalho's union does not represent most of the workers involved in the crane operation. Following a visit to the site Thursday, the civil defense official in charge of the inspection said there was no obvious signs that the ground was unstable. When we looked at it, it didn't seem like the ground shifted, maybe just a few millimeters. Jair Peca da Lima said in a television interview, maybe after an analysis with the equipment we will know more. According to Brazilian media reports, investigators are also looking into human or mechanical error as possible reasons for the collapse. Lima said only the area where the accident happened will remain closed, but work can resume at most of the stadium as soon as Monday, when the 3-day mourning period ends. Constructors will be allowed to clear the crane and the metal structure after getting clearance from civil defense authorities, which is expected to happen soon. The Labor Ministry later Thursday said constructors were prohibited from using the other 9 cranes at the site until they can show safety measures are in place and there is no more risk of accidents. Ramalho, the union leader, said workers had been pulling long hours for quite some time in an effort to get the stadium completed on time. a point confirmed Thursday by Lauder Serial Almeida, who told the AP typical shifts were 12 to 13 hours long. Besides the Sao Paulo Stadium, Odebrecht was involved in construction of the Fonte Nova Stadium in Salvador and the Arena Pernambuco in Recife, both of which were delivered for this year's Confederations Cup. It also renovated Rio de Janeiro's Maracanã Stadium, which will host the World Cup final. A small part of the roof at Arena Fonte Nova collapsed in May from weight of accumulated water from heavy rainstorm. At the time, officials denied any structural problems with the project and blamed the mistake by a worker who inspected the roof. FIFA said earlier Thursday it was waiting to learn more about the extent of the damage from Wednesday's accident. FIFA officials and other global soccer personalities are due in Brazil next week for the high-profile World Cup draw in the resort city of Costa do Sol. FIFA leaders have said repeatedly there is no plan B for next year's tournament, particularly since nearly 1 million tickets to the matches have already been sold, and it is too premature to make any detailed assessment on the situation of the Corinthians arena, as we are still awaiting the technical report to be able to evaluate the scale of the damage, FIFA said in a statement sent to the Associated Press. We will be able to provide an update earliest next week following the FIFA organizing committee of the FIFA World Cup. Jose Maria Marin, the president of the local World Cup organizing committee, said he lamented the accident but was confident it would not significantly affect the opener in Sao Paulo on June 12. I'm certain that the stadium will be ready for the start of the World Cup, he told Brazilian media. Associated Press writer Gio Langos and Stan Lehans in Sao Paulo and Jenny Bartfeld in Rio de Janeiro contribute to this report. Christians who deny gay couple hotel room lose UK court case. Britain's Supreme Court rejected on Wednesday an appeal from a devoutly Christian couple who denied two gay men a room at their hotel, saying this continued discrimination on grounds of sexual orientation. In its judgment, the court said a high-profile case and the legal issues it had raised were a measure of how far we have come in the recognition of same-sexual relationships. The Christian couple had argued that they should not be forced to facilitate what they regard as a sin by allowing unmarried couples to share a bed. They argued they were discriminating against homosexuals only indirectly because they would also have refused the room to unmarried heterosexuals. The court rejected their argument, noting that the gay couple were in a civil partnership, a union for same-sex couples recognized under British law, which gives very similar rights to those enjoyed by heterosexual married couples. Marriage and civil partnership exist both to recognize and encourage stable, committed, long-term relationships. It is very much in the public interest that intimate relationships be conducted in this way, the court ruled. Now let a long-lasting same-sex couple can enter into a mutual commitment, which is the equivalent of marriage. The supplier of goods, facilities, and services should treat them in the same way. Married heterosexuals only. The Christian couple, Hazel Mary and Peter Boyle, refused to let Stephen Pratty and Martin Hall stay in a double room at the Kimmerway House Hotel in Cornwall, southwest England, in 2008. The hotel's online booking form stated that at the time that the owners were devout Christians who preferred to let double rooms to heterosexuals married couples only. However, Pratty booked the room by telephone and was not made aware of the policy until he and his partner arrived at the hotel and were rebuffed. Reported in the media, the incident caused widespread outrage in Britain. Pratty and Hall took legal action against the Boyles, supported by the Equality and Human Rights Commission, a country court, and a court of appeal both ruled that the Boyles had discriminated against the gay couple. The Boyles then asked the Supreme Court to overturn the Court of Appeal ruling, but the Supreme Court justice unanimously dismissed their appeal. Same-sex couples will be able to marry from 2014 in England and Wales under a new law passed by the British Parliament in July this year. This woman's name is Happy Thanksgiving. Yes, really. It's safe to say no one has ever forgotten this woman's name or her birthday. During the month of November, Happy Thanksgiving Reynolds, a family physician from Minneapolis, hears her name being shouted everywhere she goes. She's used to it, and even embraced the holiday-themed monikers given to her by her parents when she was born on Thanksgiving in 1970. My parents were hippies, but if you wanted to categorize them in hippie land, they weren't Hollywood drug hippies. Reynolds, 43, explained to GoodMorningAmerica.com. Rather, she says, they were the move to a small town in Minnesota type, starting to co-op and a small school, and starting the whole organic food movement. In true hippie fashion, Reynolds' parents did not want to choose her name beforehand, but instead believed she'll pick her name by when she's born. They were just like, hey, she's the thanks and a giving from God on Thanksgiving morning, Reynolds said. The name Snow was also a contender because that day was the first snowfall of the year in St. Paul. Despite the quirkiness and constant questioning surrounding a name like Happy Thanksgiving, Reynolds maintains a positive attitude about it all. It's been awesome, she said. I've lived all over the country and it's been incredibly great because I'll go places and people will be like, hey, my friend knows you. The name has been its own intrinsic social networker, which is totally awesome. The name itself has even gotten Reynolds job interviews, simply because employers are curious to meet a person whose real name is Happy Thanksgiving. Even in the career of medicine, Reynolds says the name has boded well for her, acting as a icebreaker with her patient. In so much of family medicine, we wind up being the holders of people's private moments, both good and bad, she explained. In an accidental way, the name is so out there. It almost allows people to brag that layer and say, I can trust you, and it's lovely. And even now, 43 years later, Reynolds' parents have no regret about their daughter's festive name choice. She seems to be enjoying it, her father, Kelly Reynolds, said. Ghost hunters burn down historic mansion. A group of ghost hunters has been arrested for allegedly setting fire to a historic mansion near New Orleans, perhaps inspired by the hit sci-fi television series Ghost Hunters and its many imitators. The man climbed through a hole in the fence and broke into the LeBeau Plantation house near the Mississippi River on November 21st. According to the San Bernard Sheriff's Office, the men were looking for ghosts. Though nobody was harmed, the fire shines a light on the dark side of ghost hunting, a side that seems to be only gaining in popularity. The mansion, built in 1850s, has survived through many incarnations, operating as a boarding house, a hotel, and even an illegal gambling house. Though the mansion had been shuttered in recent years, its owner, the Arlene and Joseph Murdoch's Charitable Foundation, had planned to renovate the building. The New Orleans area has a rich history of ghosts, voodoo, and mystery. The LeBeau Plantation House is only one of dozens of Gothic mansions and plantations rumored to be haunted. Some are more famous than others, such as the Myrtles Plantation, north of New Orleans in San Francisco, a prime destination for ghost hunters that is said to be one of America's most haunted homes. Even so, it's hard to find a significant old plantation house in Louisiana that does not have at least one ghost story associated with it. Legends at LeBeau tell of a ghostly woman in a long white dress walking on an upstairs porch. Other stories describe spooky lights in the hallways or voices of long-dead slaves. The fire at LeBeau broke out at about 2 a.m. local time Friday, November 21st, and the building was almost completely destroyed by the time firefighters arrived. The ghost hunters had been trying to produce a reaction from the spirit that assumed resided there by doing what TV ghost hunters call provocation, essentially making loud noises, yelling taunts at the ghost, and banging on walls. Frustrated that their efforts failed to yield any spirit, the group decided to light a fire. Whether this was intended to smoke the spirit out or simply burn the place down, the resulting flames soon reduced the mansion to ashes and 4 brick chimneys. While many ghost hunters engage in harmless fun, as this case shows, there can be a dark, dangerous side to the pursuit. In the wake of popular ghost hunting TV shows, police across the country have seen a surge in people being arrested, injured, and even killed while looking for ghosts. In 2006, a woman was critically wounded looking for ghosts in the private house near a cemetery. She and a friend were trespassing, and the house owner mistook them for vandals and shot them. In 2010, a North Carolina man died while ghost hunting with a group of friends, hoping to see the ghost of a train that crashed a year earlier. The ghost train did not appear, but a real train came around a bend and killed one man who wouldn't get out of the way in time. As for why people consider shows such as Ghost Hunters and Ghost Adventures to be purveyors of truth, one researcher thinks it's all in the wording. The hosts of these shows often sprinkle into their tales an array of technical jargon and references to tech instruments such as ion generator, electromagnetic field detector, and video goggles with built-in speech synthesizers. Such science lingo adds undue credibility to paranormal investigators, said Paul Brewer, a professor of communication at the University of Delaware. Luckily, no one was hurt in the lethal blast, which could have killed someone or neighboring buildings. 7 men from Texas and Louisiana, ranging in age from 17 to 31, were arrested on charges related to the case, including arson, simple burglary, trespassing, and criminal damage worth more than $50,000. Orphans in Philippines speak of typhoon's horrors. The teenager with unruly hair in a ponytail wipes tears from her eyes as she holds her feverish 3-year-old brother, who clings to her and lets out a sob of his own now and then. They have been inseparable ever since they lost their parent to Typhoon Haiyan's tsunami-like storm surge. The water was so strong, also the wind and the rain. 15-year-old Shalini Larisnegru said, "Our house was cut into two." She and her 3 surviving brothers, ages 3, 6, and 12, are among an unknown number of children in the eastern Philippines who lost their parent to the massive November 8 storm. Zafrin Chowdhury, a spokeswoman for UNICEF, said the agency is helping to rapidly trace the families of affected children and to connect them with relatives. The death toll from Haiyan, one of the strongest typhoons on record, has risen to 5,560, with 1,757 others missing. Officials said Thursday. The United Nations said at least 14 million people have been affected, including 1.8 million displaced children. The storm almost completely flattened the seaside neighborhood, where Shalini's family lived in Tacloban, a coastal city devastated by the typhoon. She and her brothers now live with their mother's aunt in Beroun, a farming town about 40 kilometers from Tacloban. Friends gave them the clothes they now wear. "It doesn't matter if we lose everything, as long as we can have our parent here," said Shalini, a high school student who dreams of becoming an accountant or a journalist. She accepts that her parents are dead. She only wishes to find their bodies, and the body of a brother who did not survive. Shalini said she climbed to the ceiling of the family's 2-story home when the water suddenly rose. She and her brothers clutched wires and anything they could hold on to. "The last time I looked, my mother was just beside me, but when I looked again, she was gone," she sobbed. Her 12-year-old brother, Richard Chris Negro, held onto their mother's hand, but she could not move because her legs were pinned under the bridge. He said she told him to hold on to his younger brothers, to take care of his siblings, and to be a good boy. Then she let go and was swallowed by the rising water. The children's father was able to carry the two younger boys to the ceiling, but he, too, disappeared in the water soon after. Richard Chris took the two boys and they managed to reach a neighbor's rooftop. Shalini tried to save her 10-year-old brother, Richard Lawrence Dacuno, who was mentally disabled. She held him but struggled as the water rose, and when she was hit by the bridge, she lost her grip. I thought I would not survive because I really did not know how to swim, and I was already feeling weak, she said. She grabbed a neighbor by his shirt, and he helped her reach higher ground. She found her other brothers in a neighbor's rooftop. Richard Lawrence's body was found in the stairs of a neighbor's house later that day. Rescuers placed his body by the roadside with other corpses. The siblings' grandfather, Ricardo Negro Jr., left him there overnight to look for Shalini's cousin. When he returned, the body had been collected. More than 2 weeks later, the family is still searching. The grandfather said the boy was likely buried in one of the city's mass graves, but he didn't know where. Negro, a frail 70-year-old, now lives in a church that has been turned into a shelter and spends his days trying to find Richard Lawrence's body, along with those of his son-in-law and his daughter, his only child. With tears welling in his eyes, he said he only wants to give them a decent burial beside his wife's grave. Negro's sister Rosie Aguilar has taken in his orphaned grandchildren, a retired teacher with two grown children. She said she was close to the mother and will raise them as her own. The children carry grim memories. Richard Chris, the 12-year-old, vividly recalls seeing the body of his younger brother in the neighbor's staircase. He had blood in his eyes, he said. When asked how he's doing, he simply mumbles, "I'm okay." Dying Chicago woman weds partner in first Illinois gay marriage. A Chicago woman who is dying of cancer wed her partner on Wednesday in the first legal gay marriage to be celebrated in Illinois, 6 months before the state law recognizing gay unions takes effect. The cancer patient, Bernita Gray, 64, and Patricia Everett, 65, were wed in a private ceremony in their Chicago home 2 days after they were granted an emergency marriage license in federal court, according to Lambda Legal, a legal group that advocates for gay rights. Illinois gay marriage law, signed by Governor Pat Quinn last week, does not take effect until June 1, 2014. The couple has sued, arguing that they discriminated against them by preventing the couple from marrying before Gray's death. "I'm so excited for us and for community, for today is a beginning, one so richly deserved," said Gray in a statement. Illinois last week became the 16th state to recognize same-sex marriages, and that was the latest in a series of gay rights victories. as Hawaii earlier in the month approved gay marriages, and New Jersey Governor Chris Christie in October dropped his appeal of a court ruling that legalized same-sex nuptials.